I wanted to talk about P.S. I Still Love You, which is the sequel to All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. And as you probably know, the movie will be coming out on February 12th. Sorry, I don't know why my footage got deleted here. Anyway, just in general, there's no big overarching moral of the book, but there are kind of some sub-themes that I thought we could focus on today. So one of them is online safety. In the movies, they kind of cut this out. They made it less digital and more paper. But in this book specifically, there's a video that goes around with Lara Jean and her boyfriend Peter, and they're just kissing, but it looks like they're doing worse things. Someone posts it online, and then they get that person to take it down, but then it starts circulating their whole school, and people turn it into a meme. And even though they get it taken down and stuff, it still pops up like at a school assembly. And this kind of just shows that once you put stuff online, it's never really gone, because the internet is such a permanent thing. And so just be careful and mindful of what you're posting, especially with all the social media platforms we have now, and everyone gets social media at a really young age. And so while we're at our prime of social media, we tend to not make the best decisions. And so just remembering that everything you post has the potential to be on the internet forever. And there's just a saying, if you don't want your grandma to see the picture, then don't post it. And so I think that's a pretty easy guideline to follow. Overall, just staying safe on the internet is also a really big issue, because there's so many imposters and people pretending to be other people and just to like invade the privacy of others. So besides just what you're posting, it's also good for you to be mindful of who you also connect with on social media, because it may not be who you think it is. Another theme is honesty. Between Lara Jean and Peter, this seems to be one of their foundations that is not that strong in this book. At the beginning, they do make a contract, much like the fake one they made in the first book, but in this contract, one of them is that they're going to always be honest and truthful to each other. This whole book is kind of about them finding their footing in their real relationship, and it's really rocky throughout the book, and a large part of this is due to Peter's old girlfriend Genevieve. And her and Lara Jean used to be best friends, but they separated, and Genevieve is like really rude to her now, and so they're definitely not friends. And Lara Jean doesn't want to be, but she still gets kind of jealous of when Peter hangs out and calls Genevieve, because he doesn't really tell her why, because it's Jen's personal reasons, but it makes her kind of like distrust him, and they're not just being 100% honest with each other, especially since this other guy, John Ambrose, comes back into their life after moving away, and he is another person that Lara Jean had feelings for before. And so as they start to spend more time together, she gets kind of conflicted, and as she starts to distrust Peter a little more, they break up, and then she tries to explore a possibility with John, and that didn't work out, and so at the end, her and Peter get back together. But basically, trust is a really big factor in the relationship and how well it's going, and just in general, trust is a huge factor, because if you can't trust them, it makes them unreliable, it makes them a bad friend. You can't talk to them about personal things because you don't know what they're going to do with that information. And overall, trust is just a really important quality to have as a person, and that correlates to friendships and relationships. Moving on, this whole trilogy, they're all kind of rom-coms, and so they're rom-coms for a reason. It centers around a relationship. I don't really have any great advice for that, but I think talking to someone you really trust can really help you clear your mind. Even if they're not able to offer you advice, sometimes just talking things through helps you see more clearly and sort out whatever's going on. Another theme I kind of talked about earlier is jealousy. The jealousy of Jen and Lara Jean, and also Peter and John Ambrose, because I think both of them, they both go both ways, because Lara Jean is jealous of how Jen still takes up a lot of Peter's time and thoughts, and Jen is jealous that Lara Jean kind of like took her boyfriend, and Lara Jean and Peter are a thing now, and Peter is jealous of John Ambrose coming in and being with Lara Jean a lot, and John Ambrose is jealous of Peter having a relationship with Lara Jean because he also likes her. So throughout the whole novel, jealousy is kind of a constant theme. Finally, one last thing I want to talk about is how friendships can kind of come and go. And in the case of Lara Jean and Genevieve's friendship, Lara Jean thought it just ended on a whim and Genevieve just started being so rude and mean to her for no particular reason. But in the last chapter or so, we find out that it's not the case, that it's actually because Genevieve walked in on Lara Jean and Peter kissing once in like early middle school, and it was kind of like Lara Jean was breaking girl code, because especially since she never told Genevieve about it. And Lara Jean had a few reasons for not telling her, but she also saw why Genevieve was so upset about it, which I think she had a right to be, because her best friend just kissed the guy she was dating. Never mind, they weren't dating. Genevieve just liked Peter. Even though it was initiated by Peter, so I don't know what Peter was doing back then. Like I said, he didn't cheat on her, so we're good. Up until now, Genevieve and Lara Jean have been clashing a ton, but then in the last chapter, Lara Jean was like, do you think we'll ever be friends again? And Genevieve's just like, grow up. And Lara Jean reflects and is like, yeah, I think I have actually. I think I have moved on past being jealous of you, and I've grown on from our friendship, and I can look back at it now like it's in the past and it's not coming to haunt me. And so I think this gives a moral that friendships do come and go, and they can be really great friendships and still not last forever, and I think that's okay, because people do change as you grow up. A lot of things can cause a friendship to fall apart. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and so even if they do fall apart, it's not a bad thing. Thanks for watching. Happy Valentine's Day, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, Internet!